Good afternoon, my name is Kayla Terrell, and today I'm going to be telling the story of Master Maid. It is a story retold by Aaron Shepard. It is a folk tale that is Norwegian, and it's for ages 5 and up. So there was once a young man named Leif, and he was very handsome, but also very stubborn, and so often he didn't take anybody's advice. One day his dad says to him, "Leif, it's good to be making up your own mind, but it's also smart to know that when other people are wiser than you." To this, Leif got frustrated, and he says, "I'm leaving. I'm going to go out into the world so that I can do whatever he wants." His dad says, "Please don't go." And he tried begging and pleading for Leif to stay, but once he realized that he couldn't, he said, "Fine, but whatever you do, please just don't go work for the troll." So Leif headed out the door, and guess what he did? He did exactly that. He headed right for the troll's house, and he knocked on his door. Looming over him, the troll answered the door. "What?" he says, eyeing him. "I'm looking for a job," says Leif. The troll looks him over, and he starts feeling his arm. He says, impressed by his physique. "I could use somebody like you around here. Come this way." So he leads him to the horse stables. And he says, "Well, the first job that I have for you today, all you have to do is clean out these horse stables." "Okay," says Leif, "easy enough. Oh, and one more thing before I go. I only ask that you don't go in the house, for if you do, I will know, and you'll never live to tell about it." And so Leif is left alone, and of course he does exactly that. He goes to the house and he starts running around like a kid on Easter looking for eggs, just looking around, being snoopy, and then eventually he comes to the kitchen, and leaning with her back to him over this big pot of stew stirring it is the most beautiful maiden he's ever seen. Startled, she goes, "What are you doing here?" Leif says, "Oh, I'm working for the troll." "Well, what task did he give you today?" "Oh, a super easy one," he says. "All I have to do is clean out this horse trailer, or this horse barn, and so, yeah, not too hard." "Oh," she says, "you think it's going to be so easy?" "Well, only if you know how to do it. If you do it the regular way with the pitchfork, for every scoop that you take out, 10 more will appear, and you will never get it done. But if you use the pitchfork backwards and use the handle as a shovel, then it'll be done in no time." Leif, of course, didn't believe her, and he goes off to do his task, and he starts using the pitchfork the right way. But every time he took a scoop, 10 more would appear. So eventually he said, "Man, I guess I can give what she said a try." And so he flips the pitchfork around, and he uses it backwards, and eventually the whole thing is spotless. When the troll comes to check on him to see how he's doing with his task, he is startled to see that he is finished. And he knows instantly that he had been in the house and talked to the maid, because there's no way that he could have figured this out by himself. So the next day, he tells Leif, "Okay, well, now I need you to get my stallion from this hill. I just need you to fetch my stallion." "Easy enough," says Leif. And so he goes into the house first, and he talks to the maiden again, against the troll's wishes. The maiden, after hearing of his task, said, "Oh, that will not be easy either." Well, the stallion actually shoots flames out of its nose and mouth. So, if you take this bridle hanging by the door and hold it out as you near it, that thing will be tame as a pussycat. And so he takes it, and he heads up the hill, and he approaches the stallion, and he thinks, "Oh, this creature looks calm enough. I'm just going to walk right up to it." He starts walking up to it, but as soon as he gets close, the stallion charges at him. And so he pulls out the bridle, and he holds it above his head, and he says, "Stop." And the horse is tame. And the horse lets him ride it all the way back to the stable, or all the way back to where the troll is. Well, the troll confronts him again about being in his house, because there's no way that he could have known how to complete this task without the help of the maiden. Leif says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I won't do it again," with no intention of listening to the troll, obviously. The next day, the troll brought Leaf to Mastermaid. Cut him up and throw him in the stew, and wake me up when he's done. He then laid on a bench and started to snore. The maid takes a knife down from the wall. You wouldn't, said Leaf. Don't be silly, she says. She takes her finger and she pricks it with the knife. She then drops 3 drops of blood onto this old wooden stool. Then she grabs and fills the pot with old rags, horse dung, and just a whole bunch of garbage, essentially, from the kitchen. And then she grabs a comb, salt, and water, and they flee because they did not want to have the troll know that she didn't put him into the pot of soup for him to eat. And so meanwhile, the troll, he's half asleep and mumbles, "Is he ready?" "Tough as leather," says the first drop of blood. So then he goes back to sleep. A little while later, he wakes up again. "How about now?" "Still chewy," says the second drop of blood. So he goes back to sleep again. Finally, he wakes up and says, "It must be done by now, right?" And the maiden's voice replies, the third drop of blood replies in the maiden's voice, "All done." And so, half asleep, he stumbles over the pot of soup. He grabs a big bowl, and just as he puts the ladle to his mouth and gets the first taste, he spits it across the room and realizes what has happened. He then grabs his horse from up the hill, and he starts storming after them with his horse blazing fire. And eventually he catches up to them at this fork. But thankfully, the maiden uses her salt to change the fork. Once just barely any shrubs or anything there, she changes it into a thicket of trees so that he can't pass, and they get away. So thankfully, they got away and they didn't ever run into the troll again. And eventually they got married. And when they were saying their vows, the minister asked the Mastermaid if she would love, honor, and obey him. Leaf then cuts him off and says, "It's best if I obey her." And they did, which is why they lived happily ever after. The end.